And with that, we are joined as always on Tuesday. Will is in the building, standing a nice 6'3", 221 pounds. How we feeling today?
Good, man. I'm good. Measurements still ain't perfect, but yeah,
we we go,
you working in the right direction.
we gonna get there one day. So I started the show off with I like a lot about what the Bears are doing this offseason. You could tell there's a clear look, we went out, got a bunch of receivers, skill positions. That didn't work because regardless of how nice your skill positions are, if Caleb's getting killed, he's getting rushed. It don't matter how nice you think he is, he's gonna be able to have time. So you can see the clear direction they're going. You get Thuney at guard, you get Delvin at center, and then Jackson from the Rams also at guard. Now, for your preference, if you were the GM, are you doubling down on this again in the drafts? Like, if you have a chance at 10 to take one of the top offensive linemen, are you redoing four-fifths of your O line in one offseason? Or do you think that a guard, center, guard is enough?
Uh, if if Campbell is there at 10, you got to take him. And I
I feel
think and
that.
I think Braxton Jones is good enough to where you can flip him for a draft pick. Um,
That's valid.
Whether you get another pick in this draft or a future pick,
No,
that's what I would do.
that's
It's a few
valid.
players. It's a few players that I like though that and of course, I'm not big into college. Of course, I think neither one of us is as big into it as Tony is, but I think
Facts.
I'm not even as big into it as you are, except like when draft time comes around, I kind of start looking at the top names and then whoever they start talking about is likely for the Bears to be able to get. So it's a few names that I may have already knew throughout, just throughout the college football season, but it's also just some guys who I've just looked into a little bit and I like. So,
Um,
I mean, Will Campbell is one of them. I like Mason Graham a lot. I don't know.
if he falls to 10, that's a steal. He falls to
Yeah,
10,
so it's
that's a
like
steal. We were just talking about him yesterday. Mason Graham is a monster.
that'll make up for Jalen Carter, who got drafted
That's
at
fair.
who got drafted at 10.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
So
But yeah, we'll start there. Is if you don't get, let's say Campbell's either Campbell's off the board or there's no, or both the top two alignment are off the board. So there's no one that the Bears feel like should be at 10. What's the next direction? So you obviously said Mason Graham to start. Who's another couple players you're looking at for the Bears?
so let me pull up the draftees real quick.
Mhm.
But so it's a few which I mean, as far as draft position and whether they were being drafted in certain positions, I don't know. Like I said, I don't watch a whole lot, but what is it, James Pierce Jr.
Yeah.
Um, I like him from what I've seen. I wouldn't be mad. Like it's a lot of Bears fans who don't want it. I wouldn't be mad at a Ashton Jeanty at 10 if we can't get any. If we don't get any other offensive linemen.
I gives
Um,
you a running game to rely on.
I think Tony mentioned to me in the group chat, Kelvin Banks Jr. I looked at some of his stuff. He looked pretty good. Mike Green, I watched some of his stuff. So it's a few guys like just all pretty much all offensive line or defensive line that I was kind of looking at though.
No, that's valid. It's nice when you see this is how you can tell, and like as fans, like we're always gonna roll with our team to a certain level. You just like you give them the just blanket, all right, cool, we rolling with this season. But when you come off a bad season, and then and again, I had some questions about Ben Johnson as far as the way he was kind of talking crazy at the owners' meetings or the combine. But you can see when it's like when you transition from like bad coaching staff to good coaching staff or or bad general manager to good general manager, you see that shit almost instantly. Like it just happened with Denver, whereas like hey, you saw what um man, I blanked my man's name. Nathaniel Hackett. You saw
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett to Sean Payton. And even if you weren't like, oh, Sean's like the greatest coach ever, it was a clear difference immediately. Like Nathaniel Hackett was a dumpster fire, and now you're seeing this. And I feel like that's happening with Chicago right now, where you got to see like, all right, Matt Eberflus, you believed in, said, all right, cool, maybe this could work, but you just see even the difference of philosophy, how the organization's moving, and like even Ryan Pace, I don't remember the GM's name before him, like Ryan Pace, or I guess I'll ask this. Let me rephrase it this way, because Ryan Pace, I've heard some conflicting things about. Do you think Ryan Pace is a good GM, or do you think he's getting a lot off of the trade with the Panthers? Like, is
I
that
think
one fleecing the Panthers? Is that kind of like overshadowing? It's like, all right, is bro good at his job, or did he like do one like crazy good thing?
I won't say he only did one. Like I would say he's okay. Like I don't think he did just one crazy good thing because under Ryan Pace we still had some decent years. I think
Mm,
the Bears just, and I don't know if that was a GM thing. I don't know if that was an ownership thing, and maybe it took a while for them to kind of realize that they needed to shift with the rest of the league and not be so defense centric. Like, you still want to have a good defense, put a great defense out on the field, but you have to have a high powered offense to win in this league today.
no, that's a fact.
Um, it's not no more like, the best defense in the league is not, that's not going to be enough to just get you there without a good offense also. So I won't say he was bad, but I'll say maybe they just didn't adjust with the times. Like as the league started to shift, they didn't.
No, that's valid. Do you now that it's been a couple days? Obviously some of these guys are already signed prior to we record on Sunday, but now Delvin, who wasn't signed by the time we recorded Sunday morning, but he got signed later that day. Where in your mind do the Bears sit inside that division? And again, I said this on Sunday. That division's crazy. It's like you could be a good team and still finish third or fourth, because that division had two teams in 14 games last year. So where are you feeling about them
Um,
as far as starting this, if as everything is currently?
it's honestly tough to say. It's honestly tough to say because of because of the other changes that have kind of went on in the division. The Lions losing Ben Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
that's a thing. Sam Darnold is gone. Whatever.
That's, that one's yeah, he's gone. He did 4,000 yards. Can't take that away from him, I guess.
I think so. I'll say I think we can. Not saying that this is where we finish, but I think we could at least be second in the division. And like I said,
Okay.
not saying because it is going to be tough no matter what. Like I mean, you still got the Packers, you got the Vikings, you got the Lions. Two of them were two of the top teams last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like you to good.
Mm-hmm.
I think talent wise, I mean, and just maybe seeing how Ben Johnson is able to put everything together, I think we could finish at least second in the division. Now, if we were to finish last and still have, I think, like I said on Sunday, if we were to still go like 10-7,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad season. That's still a big improvement over last year.
No,
But I
it's
think
valid.
we can. I think that's like the minimum. I think 10-7 is like low end of what the Bears could do, but it's also the first season under a new head coach. So you saying the Lions 2 years ago versus how they were this year.
Yeah.
So it does take time to kind of cook all of this up.
No, that's a fact. But again, I like a lot of what the Bears have done this offseason. I think right now, I'm biased. The Bears have probably had, I'm gonna say so far, the Bears have probably had the best offseason as far as addressing specifically like there's teams that have like I think the Patriots have had a good offseason so far, but the Patriots are working from a different space. They're just trying to get good players on their team. And so I think they got five or six starters, but the Bears clearly had two major issues, which is O-line. I don't think their D-line was a major issue, but O-line specifically was a big issue, like keeping Caleb upright. Because if you believe Caleb is that guy, then you get him. Again, Keenan Allen probably is not going to re-sign, but you still got Adunze, you still got Moore, you still got Cole Kmet at tight end. Like he's got enough weapons that if he's upright, like this should work.
And
Um,
I mean, I think, which I don't know what Ben Johnson, well, what the Bears are going to do as far as filling the receiver holes. Like, I mean, there's still a few other veterans that may be available that we can go and grab, but I also think a guy like Tyler Scott may be able to get a chance at that wide receiver three spot and see what he can do as far as playmaking and things like that.
yeah,
I know Ben Johnson, he liked to have like a speedy receiver on the team that can kind of blow the top off the defense and things like that. So we'll see.
you like O lineman that can pass. But Johnson does a lot of wild shit when he does play calls.
I told
Um,
you that was all. That was all him. He was auditioning for a role. He was putting his bid in for the job. I think I said that when we were recording that day. Or I think we were in the group chat talking about him running the trick play against the Bears or something. I say, yeah, this is him. He put his bid in for a job right now.
He's letting y'all know, like, I
said,
could change your life.
he said, this
I
is what I can do.
Oh man. Going over to the NBA real quick. So obviously, do you buy? I guess what's your position on the whole right now? MVP, it's Jokic, SGA. What's your personal position on like, oh, we just tired of giving this one dude MVPs? Jokic obviously already has three. SGA doesn't have any yet. What's your opinion on like, oh, we just can't give him MVP again because he already got some?
I don't think that should be a thing. And I'm not the biggest on either of these two guys. Like, of course, I'll acknowledge both of them as being really good players, great NBA players. But I think as long as that's who deserves it, whoever deserves it should get it every time. And, sometimes that may be the same player. Now, that's not me saying that I don't believe Shea deserves it. Because I guess it's all about whether you feel like it's a close race or not.
Do you feel like it's close?
Yes.
If you had to vote today, who you going with?
Whoever's team was better. If in a
Okay,
close
so
in a close race. So because it's close, so not the old best player on the best team thing, but even if OKC wasn't the best team, but if these were the two front runners and OKC was ahead of Denver,
yeah.
and I feel like it's neck and neck, I would give the edge to the person who is having better team success.
Okay. Okay. So then, okay, so by that logic, then, so you don't think then, because the other guy that would be in contention is, you don't think either Donovan Mitchell or Jason Tatum is in the conversation then? Because those would be the two other best teams. Do you feel like either of those guys would be close to what? Because statistically, no one's really close to Jokic right now, except you could make an argument for Giannis, and like that's the closest we got. Like Jokic is doing stuff. Jokic is doing damn near 30, 13, and 10 as a center, which is insane. Um, I'm
I think the narrative around Tatum doesn't allow him to be in these conversations, and not like him as a player, but around the Celtics as a team. Like I think everybody views that he has too good of a team.
No, that's valid, and that's hurt guys in the past. So like, I'm not. So that's the one like old, I guess, the stereotype or philosophy of voting that I kind of do agree with. Like we all kind of acknowledge Steph had won an MVP, was a unanimous MVP, and then when him and KD got together, it's like, all right, y'all both kind of going to take away votes from each other because you're clearly playing with another all-time great player. Same thing happened with LeBron and Wade when they was in Miami. So I'm kind of in line with that, which is
Yeah, but
why
I don't think that applies to like Tatum and the Celtics though. He doesn't have a Wade or a Kevin Durant. Like
Jalen Brown Jalen
Jalen
Brown's
Brown is
really
a really
fucking
good
good,
player.
man.
Jalen Brown is a great player.
Like
I like Jalen Brown is one of my favorite players in the league. So I'm both of them. I like the Celtics though. Like I like the
that's
Celtics
facts.
as a team. Like it's I feel like I've always, even though I wouldn't say I'm a Celtics fan. I've always said like I like the Celtics for, especially since they had both of them. But um, I mean, and unfortunately, I guess having a good team is going will get held against him because I think Jason Tatum is one of the best players in the league. I think
Agreed.
probably if I'm not counting the older guys, Steph or Brian or whatever, and even if I'm counting, if I'm being unbiased, Tatum is top five for sure, maybe top four.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
he's better. It's weird, but he is better right now than the three old guys like Steph, KD, Bron, like, and they're still great, and that's dope, and they're probably still top 10. But Tatum, you're right, I think is closer to that top five at worst case six argument.
and
They just
I think if Tatum was in a situation where he didn't have where like Tatum could probably average 35 points a game if he didn't have like
the
Jalen
best
Brown
supporting
and
cast.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
valid.
like I mean, and it's like unfortunately, you get penalized for that, like as far as where people view you, because they say, oh, look at what SGA is doing, or look at what Jokic is doing. And I mean, Jokic, his numbers are his numbers. I think Jokic get a lot of extras because of the triple doubles and all of that stuff. So it's not even necessarily like the points that he's putting up, is just the way that he gets his teammates involved.
No,
Um,
that's fair. And I think personally, out of all those teams, I think Jokic has the worst supporting cast. Like Aaron Gordon's a good player. I don't think Aaron Gordon's a great player. Um, Michael Porter Jr. I think is incredibly talented, but he's also really streaky still. And Jamal Murray, for as great as like he's a champion, he's had these great playoff performances, but he's still, even in my mind, like if he's not like it's kind of a joke, but it feels real. Like Jamal Murray against the Lakers, he Michael Jordan 2.0. Jamal Murray versus everybody else is kind of like he's just a good guard. OKC, I know they're young. OKC might have the best roster just in terms of talent in the league. Like I know they're all crazy young, so no one really wants to put them there yet. But if you go, and I know Chet's missed some time too, but like you get Chet, you get both the Williams, their bench is crazy deep. Like OKC has a lot of talent. My bias probably comes from, if I were to say like the deciding factor is I just don't, and I've said this a bunch. I just don't like the way SGA plays. And there's something to like anytime you see, and this is an unfair bias because people keep showing, I keep seeing stat lines, people keep saying like, oh, y'all call SGA free throw merchant, but like they show like Mike's free throws attempts or Kobe's free throw attempts, and I'm like, I get it. I think it looks different, but when Jokic barely gets to the line. And so for me, Jokic feels more dominant on the court because a lot of his points are run out of an offense, which he is the offense for the Nuggets. It feels like he's more playing the game of basketball versus SGA. Even the game against the Nuggets, like bro's jumping. He did a step back and then like jumped in and like did some fucking weird ass face in the middle of his jump shot to try to get a foul call. And I'm like, I'm never gonna really support that kind of player for MVP. I said this, this is my James Harden beef. I just I can't get behind it personally. Um, is Tatum ever gonna
I,
win an MVP?
I don't think so. But like real quick, like I think one of the interesting things about Jokic is that I think, you had where do they sit in the standings? Do we know?
I think they're the 2 seed now because the Lakers lost last night.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah, they're
it's
two
like a
seed, 42
game.
and 23.
Yeah,
Two
there's
games. So
it's.
the Lakers are two games behind them. The Lakers are
Mm,
40 and 23. If and I mean, like I said, Jokic is definitely a great player. I think he gets a lot more leeway because they want a ring, because he has a ring.
oh, absolutely.
Because I think if it's any other player that's putting up these numbers and not winning championships, like at some point you call them empty calories at some, regardless of where the team
Absolutely.
finishing. But if it don't equate to champ, and I mean, even when you look at the title that they did win and who they played against, I think
That's
like
valid.
like like do you how do you really even like compare to other teams and who they won against? Like how does that stack up against some of the titles that were won before and after?
No, that's fair.
Um,
That's
so,
Giannis is
but
kind of going under the radar, and I think some of that is because since he has one, even though Giannis, like if Giannis didn't have a title and was doing this, it would make a lot more sense to ignore him because it's like, all right, whatever. Like you get 30 points, you run, you dunk, but like we know that shit don't work in the playoffs. Build a wall, blah blah
mm,
blah. But because he has a title, Jokic has a title, it's the difference between them and Embiid. Like all three of them could put up. I know Embiid's hurt, but like when they're all healthy, like they're all put up 30 plus. They're doing Jokic is doing the triple doubles, Giannis is scoring in the paint, and Embiid's going crazy in the post. Like, but because Embiid doesn't have a ring, it's easier to be like, nah, this shit don't work.
mm. And I think,
Um,
yeah, I think that's the thing with Jokic too. I think he gets a lot of like, and deservingly so. Like, I'm not ever the type to say like a championship don't count and try to diminish the championship, but I also think like he's putting up great numbers, but for a long time it was always the best player on the best team. And like I said, with these two is like if they, which I don't know what their head-to-head record is so far this season. I don't know how many times they actually matched up.
so they just
Uh,
did the back to back. They went 1-1.
yeah, so I don't know how many times they actually matched up, but like I said, as of right now, I would go SGA. And I mean, it's not like the Nuggets are gonna catch him. They're like 10 games behind
No, OKC's running away with it.
him.
OKC is fucking running away with it.
And I mean,
Um,
even and then like as the Cavs, like even with the Cavs, um, I think Donovan Mitchell and I like Donovan Mitchell too. I think he's a really good player. I think he may be in a similar system or in a similar situation as Jason Tatum because of the talent around him between like Evan Mobley, Darius Garland is pretty good. Who did they just get? DeAndre
um,
Hunter.
yeah.
So
No, the
I
Cavs.
think with yeah, so I think with the talent around him, I think that's kind of one of those things that always kind of get him diminished also. And I don't even know if I feel like he's an MVP caliber player, but I do think Donovan Mitchell is really good. Um,
Yeah. And the Cavs are gonna win. They're on pace to win like 68 games. Like that's
yeah,
what gets you
they
some
got 54
votes.
wins. They got 54 wins right now.
Like, like you will get some votes because even if you not like, even if we like, yeah, we probably all don't look at Mitchell as the same kind of players like Tatum, Jokic, Embiid, um, SGA even potentially, but like, bro, you want a 65, like a 65 plus win team, like you can some MVP votes.
Not even
Um,
just that, but I mean he's done it consistently. Like I mean he Utah was good when he was there.
that
So like
he's he's in the wrong
he's gonna be
ranking.
like a DeMar DeRozan. He's gonna be like one of those guys who are just like
Yeah,
he's gonna get you buckets, and that's not like a slight at DeMar DeRozan. I know we used to kind of give DeMar shit like back in the day, but I think just when you look back on kind of what he's been able to do throughout his career, he definitely had a really good career, and I think Donovan Mitchell is gonna maybe be viewed like in that light.
no, as well. Hey, DeMarcus Michael Jordan comps.
And I was gonna say that's not a bad like as a player, that's not a bad light to be viewed in, and fans may think it's a slight, but that's because fans are
No,
fans.
fans are stupid. Last question here before we get you out is, and we kind of already addressed it a little bit. Is I guess this iteration of Tatum is it possible to win an MVP? Obviously, in like 4 or 5 years, because Kristaps is probably close to the end of his career because he's had injuries. I think he's 30 now. Drew Holiday's obviously older. So the next iteration of the Celtics, there's obviously gonna be opportunity for Tatum to win MVP because he's gonna be viewed as more important. There's gonna be less talent on the roster. Do you think it's possible in this next, let's say, this year he's probably already out of it. The next 2 to 3 years, while they have this core, do you think it's gonna be possible for Tatum to get an MVP?
Mm, I think I just don't know, like, because it's not even me saying no doesn't mean I don't think he's MVP worthy. But I mean, like, just even looking at the stats, I mean, 27.2 points, 8.9 rebounds, 5.8 assists, like, those are great numbers. I don't know if the people who vote on those things are will give it to him.
He, he
Can he?
feels
Yes.
the Celtics would have to win. I feel like for Tatum to get MVP, I think the numbers could be that, but they'd have to win 70 games. Like you would
Yeah,
have to do
they would
something
have to
during
be.
like far and away the best team in the league dominate. Because last
They
year,
got to go
remember,
73-10.
yeah, like last year they were crazy. And like they were setting all kinds of records. They had the biggest plus minus and like they were killing teams by double like well over double digits. And like that's still and he was never talked about as an
But
MVP.
that's why it's interesting because it's like when Steph and the Warriors did that when they were blowing everybody out and killing, and Steph was winning MVP and not even playing fourth quarter. So it's like,
Yeah. No, that's the
you
thing.
know,
You gotta get into that.
but
And don't get
also,
me
but
wrong.
then it's like, Steph was breaking records and setting records and all of those things in the midst of doing it. So it's like when you don't have kind of some of those narratives around you, it's easy for people to not pay as much attention to it.
Hey, through age 28, and now this stat is a bunch of bullshit, and y'all gonna keep doing this because reminder, Steph spent a large amount of the early part of his career injured. Career threes made. Jason Tatum has made more career threes through age 28 than Steph Curry did. So
Mm-hmm.
take that what you will. Now, Jason Tatum only played 1 year at college. Steph played three. Steph spent the first 5 years career hard as hell. But through age 28, most threes ever made, Jason Tatum. So shout out to him.
Steph is going to be one of those players where they're going to say like his peak was about as high as anybody's though. That's gonna be the difference when you
That
talk like because when Steph finishes his career, his numbers are not gonna be like that great on paper when you look at like
oh yeah.
total points and like his total career numbers, but you're gonna look at his peak years and it's gonna be like, yeah, his peak was just as high as about anybody's.
Yeah.
And
No,
I mean,
Steph
he
is
got the accolades already: two MVPs, four finals MVP. What two West? Is it one Western Conference MVP?
I think yeah, that was the first year they started doing that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, the year when they won.
Yeah. So no, Steph is the number that works for Steph is because he just absolutely revolutionized three point shot. Like he's gonna. There's not a lot of records like when they say like oh records that'll never be broken. We haven't necessarily lived through a lot of those because most of those were set back when like they were damn near like different sports. Like most
Mm.
points in the game, like seeing it, like living through 81 was crazy. We'll probably never see someone get 100. Even with the 3-point shot being is what it is. Steph, when he retires, his all-time threes made is probably gonna be the nobody's touching this because it's like it's realistically not close because the only dudes that were close are Harden and Clay, and Clay's much closer to the end of his career than any of them. Harden's still playing well, but like Steph is still getting you 24, 25 a night, still making several threes now. Like he's gonna be by far and away. I don't think that was the one more underrated things about Steph is how early in his career he actually passed up Ray Allen. Like to think about that now, like he's had Ray almost passed up for a decade. Like
No, for sure.
that's
What
insane.
year did he pass Ray Allen?
20
15, 16?
I think he might have been 14. Like it was he let's see. When did Steph become the all-time three-point leader? Let's see. When did Steph become the all-time three-point record? Here we go. Okay, I'm bugging.
Four
In
years ago. So that's 20.
2021.
Yeah, so that's just 4 years ago.
Yeah. But he's still if he plays for two or
Well,
three
no,
more
no, is
years,
that when he became the all time three? Because oh well, I say he's set to become the first player to
yeah.
hit 4,000 threes, which he may have hit that already too, right?
I think he's two triple shy. This is as of when's this article written? Uh, um,
So he was the first player to reach 3,000 career three pointers, and James
yo,
Harden has hit that now.
games with 5 3-point shots. Steph Curry 388. Second is James Harden at 201.
What is it?
Games,
Oh, most games were five.
yeah, games of five.
Games
Steph's
with
at
games with
388.
10. Games with 10. Steph is at 26. Clay is at 9.
Like,
Golly.
hey, shout out to
And then when you
J.R.
look at the
Smith.
rest of the list, J.R. Smith, Zach LaVine.
Hey, yo. Nah, you ain't gonna see another Steph Curry. Like
See, but
that's just
I think, and it's funny now, like even watching them, because with them having Buddy Hield now, and it was like, yeah, Buddy Hield is like a good shooter, but it's like I think Buddy Hield shows them on a regular basis, like how important IQ is.
hey man, look, what they say, what the fuck is it? What's the car they say look like a phantom till a phantom roll up?
Yeah, they say the Chrysler 300 look like
Yeah,
a Bentley till a Bentley pull up.
yeah. Like, bro, like yeah, and Buddy Hield's a great shooter. Like, no
Great shooter.
disrespect to Buddy Hield, great shooter. You just thirties on a different level, man. And I appreciate you as always, bro. Hey, don't forget you can hear more Will on Group Chat podcast dropping every Sunday. And appreciate you stopping by today, man.
Yeah.